All right, my friends, we've learned the Torah portion. Basically, we went over the Torah portion of this this week. Not on the Shabbat, like we said before. The Shabbat will be Passover, so the Torah reading, which is called Achrei Mot, will be pushed off this Shabbat until Shabbat afterwards. But this is this whole week we're learning Achrei Mot, which talks about the service of the Kohen. It begins with the service of the Kohen on Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol, the great priest, the high priest in the Holy of Holies. And then the Torah portion strangely continues to forbidden sexual relationships. We talked about that in the morning. That a person can't have relations with his mother, with his daughter, with his daughter's daughter, with his etc. His aunt. They can't have homosexual relations. Okay, so that we explained in the Torah portion of the week. So now let's learn something that's maybe a little bit overlooked, and that is the Hagadah of Passover. Hagadah of Passover. The Jewish people have been saying the Hagadah of Passover in one form or another, or maybe they've just been possibly in whatever form they wanted to, since 3,334 years ago when the Torah was given, because this is one of the commandments of the Torah. One of the commandments of the Torah is to relate on the night of Passover, which is going to be this Saturday night. It was going into Friday night. This Friday night, well, the relating the miracles that God did for us and took us out of Egypt, and exactly who we are before that, and how we celebrate it, and we drink 4 cups of wine, and we eat 3 matzot, and when we drink the wine, and when we eat the matzah, there's bitter herbs that we drink, and we have to wash our hands. A couple times we wash our hands. So let's see exactly what is the order of the night. And let's go over it a little bit. Then the Torah brings 4 sentences. And the 4 sentences are mentioned in the Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, Parshas Ki Tavo. And these, in fact, are the 4 sentences which are said when Jews used to bring first fruits to the Holy Temple. They used to make a declaration that we originally came from idolaters and our fathers took us out. So, and we'll talk about these 4 sentences and how they relate to the amazing miracles that God did. So it's a commandment. As we said before, this night of Passover is essentially the night of commandments. Oh, here we go. This is the night of commandments. The Jewish people are the only people in the world that have commandments from God. It's the only religion that even claims to have commandments directly from God. God personally told all the Jewish people what he wants them to do and when he wants them to do it and how he wants them to do it and who does it and also with the intention of doing it. It has to be through love and understanding God and fearing God. So tonight there's the birth of the Jewish people. The birth of the Jewish people, they got out of Egypt. That's how they were born. Before they got out of Egypt, they didn't have any commandments. Nobody had any commandments. It says that Abraham did all the commandments before they were given, but it was not exactly the same level as commandments as after they were given at Mount Sinai. And this, of course, is just a preparation for Mount Sinai. 50 days after the Jewish people got out of Egypt, they received the Bible, the Torah, at Mount Sinai. They heard the 10 commandments at Mount Sinai. And then 40 days after that, they were supposed to have received all the explanation with the whole Torah, but they sinned with the golden calf, and it got broke. The first tablets got broken, and we know what happened. Anyway, 120 days after the Jewish people heard God speak at Mount Sinai and say the 10 commandments, as they received the whole entire Torah, Moses came down. He was up on Mount Sinai for 3 times in a row for 40 days each. So, but the whole preparation for all this business is going out of Egypt. To the degree that God spoke to Moses at the burning bush, that was before. Where did he speak to him at the burning bush? burning bush was on Mount Sinai. And God said, you're going out of Egypt. You're going to take the Jews out of Egypt. And in the merit that you're going to serve me on this mountain, God told Moses at the burning bush, you're going to be the one that's going to take the Jews out of Egypt. That's it. That's you. 1 minute. All right, so the Jewish people, so one of the commandments of this night is to say these praises of God. And it's not exactly clear exactly what was the order. What exactly they said. I mean, you have to bring the sentences from the Torah that talks about this. And it says that the Torah talks about 4 sons, and then the Mishnah talks about it a bit. The Mishnah, though, was written after the Second Temple. So that was a good, 1,000, whatever, 50 years, 500 years after the Torah was the Torah was given. The Jews got out of Egypt. But in any case, this whole entire time, they were saying something. The first actually written order that we have is something like about 1,000 years ago. It's written down. I mean, you have to remember that also printing presses only existed about 600 years ago. So things that were passed down from generation to generation being written, especially this, it's not exactly clear-cut commandment what exactly you have to say. It's just you have to praise God. And it even says that if a person is, let's say, in some situation, he's in jail or whatever, all he has to do is just say any sentences that he knows about going out of Egypt, and he's fulfilled the obligation in this night. In any case, it's come down to us, though, that we do have an order of saying the night. It's called the Seder of the Pesach. Seder means the order. And this is also according to Kabbalistic principles, which, vaguely I know of their existence. We can't exactly explain what they are, but they are according to Kabbalistic principles, like everything else is in prayer is also. But here is also it's very special because this is the first, we're commemorating the birth of the Jewish people. Okay, the first thing we say in the nighttime is we say what's going to be, the whole order of things. Some people even sing it. Kadesh urachatz karpas yachatz magid rachza motzi matzah mora korach shulchan orach tzafun berach hillel nirtze. Kadesh means you say the kiddush on wine. Then you wash your hands as though you're washing for bread, but you don't say a blessing because you're not washing for bread. Then you eat what's called the karpas, which is a vegetable. Some people take onion, whatever, a piece of onion, you dip it into salt water and you eat it. Then you do yachatz, you break the middle matzah, and that one you're going to use for the afikomen in the end. What do you mean the middle matzah? There's 3 matzot sitting in front of you, one on top of the other one. And the middle one, you break and you put it somewhere else, because some people say the whole night of Passover has to be said on a broken piece of matzah oni, poor bread. Okay, so you said Kaddish and you drank a cup of wine, then you wash your hands as though for bread, but it's not for bread. You don't make a blessing on it. You eat this piece of a vegetable. It's called karpas. You break the middle matzah. Then you pour the second cup and you start saying the Hagadah. And this is the Hagadah that we're going to be saying. So we've already got 4 steps before the Hagadah is said. Now, like I said, you have 3 matzot in front of you. And on top of those matzot, you have arranged, let's see if they have a picture over here. 1 second. Do they have a picture? Oh, here it is. See? Here's the picture. You have on top of this, of the plate, here's the 3 matzot. This is supposed to be a picture of the matzah. 1, 2, 3 matzot. And then on top of it, you put a plastic or a cloth so the liquid doesn't come through, doesn't make the matzot wet. And here you have what's called moror, bitter herbs in the middle. It's shaped like 2 triangles. 2 triangles. 1, 2, 3 is 1 triangle. right? This is what's called the neck. You take a chicken neck or something like that, put it over there. And then, yes. What is this picture that he drew over here? This is very not so clear. Anyway, this is supposed to be an egg. I don't know what type of a picture this is. Anyway, the bone looks okay. This is supposed to be a bone. You put a bone over here. This is supposed to be a bone of a chicken neck. And this is supposed to represent what they call the Zoroa. This is reminiscent of the Paschal offering that we make. We don't need make it this night. And here is an egg, which is memorant, reminds us of that we were silent and the suffering of the Jewish people, and also the word Bea, an egg has no mouth, and also an egg because the word in Hebrew, in Aramaic, is Bea, means requiring, we want, we ask, boy. The main thing we have over here, this is the karpas that we were talking about. Some people use a piece of onion. And then over here is the charoset. The charoset is usually something that's sweet, like crushed up pears or apples with a little bit of wine in it and nuts. The main thing that's really concerning here that we really eat, actually, these are more symbolic. These is what's called the moror and the chazoret. These are the bitter herbs. It's a rabbinical commandment to eat these bitter herbs on the night of Passover. The ideal bitter herb is really lettuce, because it starts off sweet and then it gets bitter. But of course, in the end, as bitter as it is, it's not as bitter as horseradish. Some people put the horseradish here. Horseradish, it should be altogether what's called a kazayit. Kazayit is like an ounce or so. And here is also the same thing. This we're going to put into the sandwich. So this is what it should be on top of your matzot. You have 3 matzot in front of you. And on top of the matzah, you have these 2 triangles. Here's one triangle, which is the bone, the chicken neck, and the egg, and the bitter herbs. And here we have the sweet charoset, and we have the zoro. Sorry. The karpas, over here, this is what we call the karpas. Some people use a piece of potato as well. In any case, you should try to eat less than a kazayat of this, because you might have to make a blessing afterwards if you eat too much of it. So this is what's called the karpas. Okay, and then we have the chazor. So this and this are identical. This is bitter herbs. Bitter herbs. This one you're going to eat alone, and this one you're going to put inside of a sandwich and eat it right afterwards. Right afterwards, you're going to put it inside of bread. You're going to eat it. Okay, so let us go now to the Seder night. Now, just as a small mention of what's going on over here, this happens in the nighttime, but from midday on, actually, like let's say 2 hours before midday, before Passover, it's already forbidden to eat chametz, any leavened bread. It's forbidden to eat leavened bread. So you have to get all chametz out of your house. That's a negative commandment, very severe sin to eat chametz in your house, and even to have it on your possession, even to own it. Famous stories about people who own, beer factories, and they forget to sell it because you're supposed to sell it to a non-Jew. And to have it in your possession, they have to spill out all the beer. Okay, so here we are. We have the 3 matzot. On top of the 3 matzot, we have what's called the ke'ara plate, and on the plate are these 6 items. 2 of them are identical. This is bitter herbs. This is bitter herbs, and we have the bone and the charoset and the karpas and the egg, beitza. Good. Now, next page. What all these mean? Kaddish, we wash our hands. We said this. Now we say Magid, and that's what we're going to try to learn today. This one here, Magid, is going to take up the major part of the night. That's what's going to take up the major part, unless you want to spend a long time eating. But the Magid is supposed to take the major part of the night. That's reading the whole Hagadah, which I hope we'll kind of go over a little bit, maybe today and tomorrow. After you finish saying the whole Hagadah, you drink a second cup of wine. Doesn't say it over here, but you do. Second cup of wine. As we said in the Sikha that we learned, the second cup of wine corresponds to what's called the evil son. There's 4 sons. There's the wise son, the evil son. That corresponds to the 4 cups of wine. According to the Arizal, the first cup is according to the wise son, that's the Kaddish. Then you pour the second cup, and you say the whole entire Haggadah on the second cup, on the evil son. Because we have to, on this night of Passover, worry that every single Jew should come to recognize the creator of the universe and awaken his Jewish soul. So we have to deal with the evil son. But after we finish that, then we drink the second cup of wine. We wash our hands. Now we wash our hands really for bread, and we make a blessing on washing our hands. We sit down and we take all 3 matzot. The top one is whole, the bottom one is whole, the middle one is broken. We take all 3 matzot and we make a blessing on hamotzi. Hamotzi is the same blessing you make over bread. Hamotzi lechem minoretz. And then we drop the bottom matzah and we just hold the broken middle one and the top one, and we make the blessing on matzah. And we lean over and we eat it. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you something. Every time you drink wine, you also have to lean over. You lean over to your left side. You have to lean over to the left side. Every time you drink wine or eat matzah, you're supposed to lean over to your left side. And then after that, you eat. So you eat the matzah, you finish eating the matzah, and then you take half of the top matzah and all of the middle one, which is only a half, and you eat the matzah. Then we eat the moror. Moror is the bitter herbs that we had, remember, that was in the middle. And then, just to be sure, you make what we call a korach, and we'll talk about how to do that. Take a korach, you take the whole bottom matzah, and you take that bottom, the lower moror, the lower bitter herb, we put it in between 2 matzahs. We'll talk about that. We put it in between the 2 pieces or whatever, the bottom, and we eat, also leaning over. Then we eat a meal. After the meal, we eat the afikomen. The afikomen was the second broken part of this yachatz here, this the broken matzah. We eat the afikomen, leaning over to your left. If you don't lean over to your left, there's sometimes when you're going to have to do it over again, especially eating bread. You're going to have to do it over again. Leaning over to your left. Then we pour another cup, and we make the blessing after eating, and we drink a cup. Blessing after eating. Then we we finish 3 cups of wine so far, right? 1 in the beginning, 1 right after we finish the magid, 1 after the meal. We pour the 4th cup, and here you pour the 5th cup also, which we don't drink. That's the cup of Elijah the prophet. Put it in the middle of the table, and you say Hallel, say what's called the big Hallel. And finally, Nirtza, the Seder is accepted favorably. And then you drink the 4th cup. After the Hallel, you drink the 4th cup. Okay, now let's go. What exactly are we going to say? We say the Kiddush. Now tonight, this year is going to fall on Shabbat. So it's a long sort of a Kiddush that we make. Make the Kiddush. Let's see, we have to go to the next page. Where do we find this over here? This is the Kiddush. One second. No, it's not so. We start before that. And we start, because it's Shabbat. So we start off by saying, see, it's a little bit of a problem over here. Here. Yom HaShishi, we start off here because they want to make it in English, so every other page is English. So we start off praying. The Kiddush, hold the cup in your hand, lift it up. Yom HaShishi vayechulu shamayim v'aretz v'chol tzavam, like on Shabbat. This is the sixth day. Translate, okay, the sixth day, and God finished all of his work, the heavens and the earth, and all the work that he did on the seventh day. And he rested on the seventh day from everything that he did. And God blessed the seventh day. Because on it, God finished all the work that God made lasso to fix up. God made the whole world to fix it up. We're commemorating the fact God created the world. And then we make a blessing on the holiday. That you chose us from all the nations. You elevated us from all languages and from all the other, also the nations. You made us holy with your commandments. You gave us with love Shabbat, because it's Shabbat, and holidays for joy, and Moedim l'Simcha, and special times for rejoicing, and the Shabbat day, and Chag HaMatzot. The holiday of Passover is called several names. One of them is Zman Cherutenu. It's called the day of our freedom. It's also called Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of Matzot. Right? Matzot. And we're going to see. Here we'll see. Let's look. The holiday of Matzot. Yom Tov Mikra Kodesh says Zman Cherutenu. It's the time of our freedom. So the holiday is called Pesach. It's called Chag HaMatzot, Zman Cherutenu. There's a saying from Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, I hope I remember it correctly. Chag HaMatzot is what we do, we eat the matzot. Pesach is what God did. He jumped over, took us out. And Zman Cherutenu, I think, is both of us. I have to look and see what he said before. The both of us are free. Now, the Jewish people are free to serve God, and God is not suffering with the Jews in exile. We'll have to look and see. I think that's what he said. Okay. In any case, because you chose us, God, you chose the Jewish people, and you made us holy from all the other nations. And you gave us Shabbat and the holy holidays with joy and happiness. Blessed are you, God, that you gave us the Shabbat and these special times. And then we make Shehechianu. That you have kept us alive, and we have kept us in existence, and you have brought us to this time. You brought us to the time. Good. This year, this is said if Pesach falls on Sunday, Motzi Shabbat, but it doesn't this year, so we don't have to worry. We don't have to say this. Next. Here's the translation of what we just said. Okay, now we do the urachatz. What do? You wash your hands without a blessing. You take the karpas, you take the, whatever it was, the onion or whatever that was on the left bottom side, you dip it into water, you make a blessing on it, pri adama, and you eat it. Karpas is the letters samach perach, that's 10,000s of Jews suffered, just the males. We're talking about, anyway, they suffered in Egypt for 210 years till they got out. So that's a samach perach. Yachatz, then you break the middle matzah, like we said before. You break the middle matzah and you hide it. That's going to be your afikomen afterwards. And then we got to Magid. And now this is the Hagadah that we're talking about. And you also pour the second, or is it a cup of wine? Where is this? 1 minute. Okay. And then you start the Magid. You lift up the tray and you say, this is the bread of affliction This is the matzot there. All the matzot are complete, right? You just have the middle one is just broken. And then you say, one minute, excuse me. Okay, here he says that you pour the second cup right after this. Hey Lachmanya, this is the bread of affliction that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Anyone who wants to come and eat, anyone who needs, come and celebrate the Pesach with us. Now we are here. Next year we're going to be in the land of Israel. Now we are servants. Next year we're going to be in Bnei Choron. The Rebbe explains that this sentence is being said by God. Because it can't be saying by us. What are we saying? We're announcing and inviting people to come to eat. Why do it at home? Who's going to hear you? Right? And you're sitting in your table. It doesn't say open up the door and yell out an invitation. This is the bread of affliction. Anyone who wants to come and eat can come and eat. Announce it in the synagogue before you leave. Tell anyone who wants to come and eat. So he says, this is a sentence that God is saying. God is saying to us, anyone who is thirsty for godliness, tonight you can come and eat. You can even come and eat the Pesach. Pesach was eaten after the whole meal, the Pesach offering, when everyone was satisfied. In other words, tonight, bountiful feeling of godliness and Jewish identity is available. God is inviting us to come. That's what it says. Next year in the land of Israel doesn't mean we'll wait for the last minute. It means immediately after this Seder, then Mashiach will come, take all the Jews to Israel. That's one of the things he's supposed to do. Mashiach is supposed to come, build the Holy Temple, and immediately all the Jews will somehow fly to Israel. I mean, that's what it says is going to happen. We'll see what happens. It's no less improbable than God taking all the Jews out of Egypt. That's what we're celebrating tonight. So we're celebrating tonight a night of totally improbable miracles that broke all laws of nature, so that everybody can fly to. I mean, in those days, nobody flew. Nowadays, people fly. There's airplanes that fly all the time. So it'll be just God will make everybody fly. Anyway, we'll see what's going to happen when it happens, but it definitely will happen. And it's supposed to happen now. And if it does happen right now, today, before Passover, it's already 2,000 years late. So any second, the whole thing is just going to flip around. And that's what he means. Next year we'll be in the land of Israel. It means immediately now we'll be transported. And so automatically next year when Passover rolls around, we'll already be in Israel. This year we are slaves. Next year we'll be free people. We're slaves to all sorts of wrong ideas and of our own minds, our own hearts. Now we pour the cup. Oh, here it is. Now we pour the second cup. And the child asked the 4 questions. If there is no child, then everybody repeats this, actually. Everybody says it. But if there's nobody there, you're just sitting alone. So you ask yourself, and what are the questions? The questions are, what is the difference between this night and all the other nights? Right? And now we're going to have 4 questions. This is a general question. Why is this night different from every other night? 4 questions. This is the title. Sub-questions. The child asks, what's going on tonight? All the other nights of the year, we don't dip at all. Tonight, we dip twice. We dip the egg. We're going to see we dip the egg into water. We have the charoset. There's the water ready to be dipped. We have the charoset there. Remember on the bottom right side, the charoset? That's for dipping the morer into twice. In any case, we dip in this night. What's this dipping? All the other nights, we can eat whatever we want to, chametz or matzah. Tonight, we have to eat matzah. Why? Question number 3. All the other nights, we eat all sorts of vegetables. Right? You don't have to eat vegetables at all. Tonight, we have to eat more. You have to eat bitter vegetables. Why? And question number 4, all the other nights, you can eat or sitting up or leaning over. And this night, you must eat leaning over. Whenever you drink the wine or eat meat, eat matzah, eat matzah, you must lean over. You lean over to your left. Now that's called hasava. Every time you drink wine or eat matzah, you're supposed to lean over as a sign of freedom. Okay, but the child doesn't know that he sees you leaning over, drinking the wine. What's going on over here? He didn't see you eating the matzah yet, didn't get up to that. So those are the 4 questions. We talked about this before. If you remember, we learned together. There's others that start off with matzah. This is the first question. And they put the thing about dipping last, but Chabad puts it first. And the reason is because dipping is only just a custom. Eating matzah is a command from the Torah. More or bitter herbs is from the rabbis. This is a general, in the Talmud, it's written, this is you're supposed to lean over as a sign of freedom. The whole night is a sign of freedom. And this thing of dipping is really sort of very, how do you say, very optional. You don't have to do it. It's just a custom. Says that's the most important thing of Judaism, that we're willing to do things that are optional in our own free time, from our own free will, to express our Judaism, even in these small ways, right? That's the essence of Judaism. What we do with our free time, what we do with our free will. So that's why we put it first. Right. So now we're starting off with something bad. No, we didn't get to the bad. Some people say this is the bad. There's other. We'll see. 1 second. The bad is going to stay in a moment. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and God took us out with a powerful hand and a outreached arm. And if God would have not have taken us out, our forefathers from Egypt, so we and our sons and our grandsons, we would still be to Pharaoh in Egypt. And the Rebbe, of course, asks, how could that possibly be? This is 3,300 years. There's been so many political changes and upheavals and things like that. Egypt is absolutely nothing like what it was back then. Back then, it ruled the whole world. How could it be that we'd still be the slaves in Egypt if God wouldn't have taken us out? So the Rebbe says very simply, every nation where the Jews are, that nation is the most powerful nation in the world. When the Jews were in Spain, it was the most powerful nation in the world, etc. And when the Jews were the blessing of every country. And as soon as the Jews get evicted from the country, then the country loses its power. So if God wouldn't have taken us out of Egypt, then we would still be in Egypt. So Egypt would remain as powerful as it was, and there would be no way that anybody could get out. Translation. Here's a story about Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. And Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, 4 great rabbis that were doing the Passover meal in Bnei Brak, and they were talking about going out of Egypt the whole entire night. Right? This is, of course, in the Second Temple. And their pupils came and they said, rabbis, the time of Kriya Shema has come in the morning. In other words, they sat and they related the miracles that God told us the whole entire night. The whole night. How long we take? An hour. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah said, I am like 70 years old. There's others that say 80 years old. And I didn't merit to say going out of Egypt until Ben Zoma came along. Like he says, Ben Zoma said, what did Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah? Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, he wanted that the 3rd paragraph of Shema that we say now should be said in the daytime and the nighttime, and that's the law. What's the big thing about the 3rd paragraph of Shema? The 3rd paragraph of Shema talks about God took us out of Egypt, right? That's how it ends, and it talks about tzitzit, the commandment of tzitzit. These strands that are in the garment, and you don't have to have tzitzit on the nighttime. So because you don't have to have tzitzit on the nighttime, and this 3rd paragraph talks about these tzitzit, the strands. What's going on over here? Uh-oh. 1 minute. 1 second. Excuse me. It seems that the thing is not working in 1 second. Let's get this in here. Turn to meeting. 1 minute. All right. Well, interesting. Okay, here we go. Oh, for some reason the picture was not there. Not that it's very essential, but why not? If you can use it, it's free. He said, I am like 70 years. And if you remember, he really wasn't 70 years. There's different opinions about how old he was. Some say it was 13. Some say it was, there's 17 I saw. But in any case, he was an incarnation of Shmuel HaNavi with the prophet Samuel. And the years of Samuel together with his years made him to be 70 years old. And because of that, he merited to have the law like him that they said, Shema Yisrael in the nighttime. And the rabbis added on, Yemei Chayecha, that you should say, you should remember going out of Egypt in the days of your life, that's while you're alive. And Kol Yemei Chayecha, even in the days of the Mashiach. Even in the days of the Mashiach, you should say, remember going out of Egypt. And the days of the Mashiach will be such an amazing miracles that you might forget about going out of Egypt. But he said, don't forget. You won't forget. Don't that you should remember and think about going out of Egypt, even in the days of the Mashiach. The Lubavitcher Rebbe made this in a way the central point of the whole Hagadah, because the whole Hagadah is celebrating us going out of Egypt, but that was only the beginning. The real end of going out of Egypt is the Mashiach. He's going to do it again to all the Jewish people. But then it's going to be more amazing because he's going to have to gather the Jews up. Here, all the Jews were all together, gather them all up and change their whole priorities in life, and etc. So it says, Kol Yemei Chayecha, that's what the Rebbe says. All of the days of your life, he's talking to each and every Jew, all of the days of your life should be devoted, lahavi, to bring to the days of the Mashiach. And the Rebbe said even more, the days means all of your time, the Chayecha, and all of your energy should be devoted to bring to the days of the Mashiach. All right, let's do one more, and we'll have to leave the rest for tomorrow. Blessed is God. 4 blessings corresponding to the 4 sons. Blessed is Mahamakom is God. Blessed is he. Blessed is the one who gave the Torah to his people, Israel. Blessed, corresponding to the 4 sons is the Torah speaking. One of them is wise, one of them is evil, one of them is simple, one of them doesn't know what to ask. Now these come from 4 different sentences in the Torah. And from these sentences also we learn the commandment that we have to say praises about going out of Egypt. You have to sing the praises of going out of Egypt on this night. And it says it 4 different times. So let's see. The wise son. What does the wise son ask? The wise son makes a statement. What does he say? What are these what are all these different types of laws? Edut are religious laws. Chukim are not understandable laws. Mishpatim are logical laws that God gave you. Right? All these different types of laws that there are in Judaism, some you can't understand. It's possible, like don't kill, don't steal. Some are religious, like putting on tefillin. Some just don't make any sense whatsoever. Like not eating pork, or why not eat? What's wrong with it? So it says, you say, Kilchos Pesach, that these are the laws of Passover. You don't eat anything in Maftirim after the Pesach Hapikomen. And the Rebbe asks the question, what's so wise about these questions? I mean, if he's a wise son, he should know what the different commandments are. So the wise son, he wants to say, the Rebbe says that the wise son, he is a big tzaddik, and he feels God in everything. And he's saying, what do we need all these commandments for? I can feel God is everywhere. What do I have to have commandments for? right? Well, tonight we went out of Egypt. This is a big revelation of the essence of God. I appreciate this. We don't have to have all these little commandments. And you answer him back, my friend, how do we get these big revelations? By doing all the commandments that God gave us on that night of going out to the last detail. What's the last detail? You don't eat after the Pesach Apikomen. The Apikomen was the Paschal lamb that they ate, the sacrifice, the Pesach, that was eaten the last thing. That was eaten the last, that's corresponding to the Apikomen. That was eaten the last thing in the meal where you're already satisfied. They ate the Paschal lamb. That was the last thing that was eaten. It says every detail had to be followed, even including this detail. We don't eat after the Pesach Avikomen. So that's what you tell this wise son. Wise means he's like none of an aviu. Remember, we learned tremendous big tzaddik, and he doesn't want to have any connection with the commandments. He thinks it's too low. So we tell him, no, my friend, the commandments come from the essence of God. You can't have Judaism. You can't have revelation of God without the commandments. That's the wise son. The evil son says, what is all this to you? It says to him, to you and not to me. That's what he's saying. Because he took himself out of the congregation. So also you hit him in his, you dull his teeth. And you say, because God took me out of Egypt. God, I'm doing this because God took me out of Egypt. Took me out of Egypt, but not you. If you were back then, you wouldn't have even gotten out. What's it coming to say? The Rebbe asked, how can you say a thing like this? He's sitting in the night of the Seder Pesach. Not only this is the Torah speaks about 4 types of sons. This is a son that's in the Torah. What are you trying to kick him out, saying he's got no place in the night? He says, no, it's trying to say if you were back then, when the Jews got out, you wouldn't have gotten out. But now we're after the Torah was given. The Jews got out 50 days before the Torah. When God gave the Torah, it says there's 4 sons, Dibri Torah. The Torah includes all the types of sons. So now you have a place for us here, right? You have a place for us here. Don't worry about it. You have as much a place in Judaism as everybody else. And as soon as he realizes what his place is, then he'll stop being an evil son. Simple son. What does he say? What's this? And you say, with a powerful hand, God took us out of Egypt. The one that doesn't know how to ask, so he doesn't know how to ask. So you have to encourage him. Like that's, and this is the sentence that we learn from, that we have to relate the going out of Egypt to, on this night. Say the Hagadah. So it's very essential. The family is the very essential, atom, foundation of the Jewish people. And that's this night. We go out in the family. The family is stressed very much. Like it says, Ba'avur zeh, Hashem, because of this, all these commandments that we're doing, God took us out of Egypt. This is the night of commandments, and that's why you tell the son that doesn't know what to ask. He's just bewildered. There's just so much. English translation. Worst of all, if you don't understand the Hebrew, you should. And here's the bad thing. In the beginning, our forefathers were idolaters. Before Abraham, our forefathers, the father of Abraham, Terach, he was a big idolater. Terach, Avi, Avram, says Nachor. And the Rebbe says, what in the world are we starting with bad things for? And the Rebbe said, because there's the 5th son. There's also a 5th son. There's 4 sons that the Torah speaks about. And then there's a 5th son that he's out of the picture. He doesn't want to have anything to do with Judaism whatsoever. He doesn't even know that he's a Jew. He has no connection intellectually to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So therefore we say, no, he's also mentioned here. We bring him also into the Hagadah, right? To tell him that even the 5th son also has a place. This 5th son is not there. That was a speech the Rebbe gave in, what was it? We just read it, but 1957, the Rebbe said it, 57. Okay, my friends, we'll go back to this, God willing, tomorrow, and we'll do a little bit more, try to finish the Hagadah of Passover tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now, and see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning. Shalom Uvracha.